Have you ever wondered why, at certain moments in life, isolation doesn't feel like a weakness, but like a necessity? Why silence, so dreaded by most, becomes the safest and most strategic fortress for some people? It's not about cowardice, nor about social awkwardness. It's about survival, about protection, about safeguarding the essence that defines who you truly are. In a world that constantly demands your attention, your reactions, your participation, choosing to withdraw is an act of inner rebellion, a return to the wisdom of those who came before us. The ancient Viking warriors understood this better than anyone. Before marching into the chaos of battle, they did not simply rush forward blindly. No. They withdrew, often alone, sometimes in small groups, to prepare, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. They connected deeply with their instincts, faced their fears in solitude, and forged an indestructible resilience. Isolation wasn't seen as exile or punishment. It was a sacred ritual, a deliberate pause to gather strength. A moment to separate themselves from the noise of the tribe, from the distraction of external voices, so that when the time came to fight, they would do so with absolute clarity of purpose. And today, even without axes or shields, this ancestral instinct continues to live within us. The emotional landscapes may have changed, the battles are now psychological and social rather than physical, but the need for isolation remains. When life becomes an emotional battlefield, filled with noise, demands, expectations, you find yourself craving silence, seeking solitude, yearning for a space where you can simply breathe. Not because you are antisocial, but because your soul is asking for protection. Your mind is pleading for a pause. Your spirit is demanding space to heal and recalibrate. Viking isolation is not about running away from the world. It's about choosing when, how, and why to engage with it. While others expose everything they feel, every aspect of their lives, you choose discretion. While many rush to be seen, liked, validated, you opt for invisibility, not out of fear, but out of awareness. You've come to realize that your inner world is sacred territory. Not everyone deserves access to it, and even fewer are capable of handling its depth. This is not cynicism. It is wisdom earned through battles fought and scars endured. The Vikings of old protected their villages with wooden palisades and stone walls. They created layers of defense, ensuring that only those deemed worthy or necessary could cross the threshold. Today, you have learned to do the same, but with emotional boundaries. You've learned to say no without guilt, to recognize who enriches your life and who only depletes it. You have understood that not every relationship is essential, not every interaction deserves your time, and that sometimes solitude is the most nourishing companion of all. Within this space of isolation, something remarkable happens. The relentless noise of the outside world begins to fade. Its chaotic demands grow distant, and the faint, almost forgotten sound of your own voice emerges. You begin to remember who you are, stripped of the expectations, the judgments, and the roles imposed on you. This is the true power of Viking isolation, the chance to reconnect with your most primal self, with the part of you that doesn't seek approval, doesn't crave applause, and doesn't need to explain itself to anyone. It simply exists, raw, untamed, free. But make no mistake, this path is not for the faint of heart. Isolation forces you to confront what others spend their entire lives avoiding: the emptiness, the discomfort of your own thoughts, the pain of past wounds, and the haunting presence of your most persistent fears. The Viking does not fear these inner demons. He welcomes them as necessary trials. He knows that mastery over the external world begins with mastery over the internal one. Silence is not the absence of noise. It is the presence of self-awareness. while the weak seek distraction at every turn, filling their days with mindless entertainment and shallow interactions to avoid facing themselves. The Viking seeks introspection. He withdraws not to hide, but to sharpen, to hone his mind like a blade, to test his spirit like steel in the forge. While others fill their schedules to avoid thinking, you, like a modern-day Viking, understand that stopping, silencing, and isolating is not a luxury. It's a necessity, because it is in those still, silent moments that you rebuild yourself, brick by brick, thought by thought. And within this sacred isolation, clarity emerges. You begin to distinguish between your true allies and those enemies disguised as friends, those who truly support your growth and those who subtly undermine it. Viking isolation sharpens not only your mind but your discernment. It teaches you to trust your instincts, to respect your intuition, and above all, to value your peace above the fleeting comfort of superficial connections. Importantly, Viking isolation is not permanent, nor is it intended to be. It is a strategic withdrawal, a period of recalibration. Just like the warrior who spends the harsh northern winter isolated in his longhouse, sharpening his weapons and preparing his body and mind for the battles of spring, you too understand that sometimes the most powerful move is not an advance, but a retreat, because only those who are comfortable being alone, only those who have learned to stand firmly in their solitude, know how to choose wisely when it comes time to stand alongside others. The modern world often distorts this truth, labeling isolation as antisocial, strange, or even pathological. But the ancients knew better. They understood that the soul needs space to breathe, that the warrior needs silence to hear the voice of his intuition. Those who never respect their own time, who never disconnect from the clamor of the world, inevitably lose themselves in the crowd, becoming just another face in the mob, another voice lost in the echo chamber of meaningless noise. To isolate yourself, then, is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of profound self-love. It is the decision to guard your soul as fiercely as an ancestral warrior would guard his village, his family, his legacy. It is to recognize that your value does not lie in how much you give of yourself to others, but in how well you protect the essence of who you are. It is the realization that strength is not about constant exposure, but about knowing when and how to reveal yourself. And when you finally emerge from your isolation, you do not return as the same person. You come back stronger, more conscious, more precise, like a freshly forged Viking sword, sharpened by fire, tempered by cold, and ready for the battles ahead. And those who once overlooked you, who perhaps took you for granted, will now see you with new eyes, some with respect, others with fear, because they will understand that you don't need anyone to feel whole. Isolation has taught you the art of self-sufficiency, of authenticity, and above all, of freedom. Freedom from the expectations of others, from the suffocating pressures of modern life, from the masks that society so often demands you wear. You are free to be as you are, without permission, without apology, without compromise, and that freedom is the most revolutionary act of all. It is the ultimate victory, not over others, but over your own fears, doubts, and insecurities. So when the world calls you antisocial, cold, or distant, smile quietly to yourself, for you know the truth. You are not withdrawing out of fear, but out of strength. You are not hiding. You are healing, preparing, guarding. And when you step out of your fortress once more, you will do so not as a victim of the world's chaos, but as a master of your own. If you've made it this far, leave this in the comments: Viking soul. So I know that even in silence, you are out there, steadfast, resilient, and forging your own legend.